Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to part 1 of my series of Adobe Camera RAW editing tutorials. Now you may have already seen my previous Adobe Camera RAW tutorial, which is probably getting a bit old now. So Adobe Camera RAW is now on version 13. And so I thought I would make an updated video, plus I thought I'd put them into a series rather than one big super long video like before. Okay, so in part 1 we're going to look at the basics of Adobe Camera RAW, the layout, how it works, and we're going to look at the basic editing functions to start with. Okay, so when you first open Adobe Camera RAW, now I'm using Adobe Camera RAW as a plugin to Photoshop here. I believe that many of the Adobe Camera RAW features are available in Lightroom. I wouldn't know about that. For this tutorial, I'm going to use it within Photoshop. Okay, so as before, you can open multiple photos into Adobe Camera RAW. The quickest way to do that, if I show you, is if you go within Photoshop, go to your folder where you want to open your pictures, choose the pictures that you want. So if you hold down the control key, you can select multiple pictures like this and open, and you'll open all of those into Adobe Camera RAW. It will open by default if they're RAW photos, of course. Okay, now here we have the 3 photos that I've selected. Okay, so they appear in a film strip down here on the left. The film strip down here, if you look at the bottom here, you can see a little icon here for the film strip. If you single click that, it will hide it. Or if you click it again, it will show it. If you click and hold, it will then give you options. And one of the options is to actually put the film strip horizontally at the bottom rather than on the left. I personally prefer it here. And there are various other options. So from here you can select all of the images in your film strip. You can copy, edit settings, do various things like this. You can set ratings on your images if you want to. You can set labels, mark for deletion if you're going through all your images and some you want to delete. You can save all the images from here. Enhance details, merge to HDR. So various options here. Here is also important. Here you can show the file names in the film strip if you want to. Let's get rid of that. And you can show ratings and colors if you've set them and if you want to show them in the film strip for each image. Otherwise, it's shown down here at the bottom, the ratings and everything like that. So there's basically the options that you've got. Okay, so that's the film strip. Down here, okay, you've got the image size. So typically if you click fit in view, then it will fit in the whole view here. Otherwise, if you want to look at 100%, you can zoom in to look at the image at 100% to view, make sure everything's sharp. That's a very useful thing to do. Of course, if you want to go higher, then you'll lose sharpness, but you can look closer. Or then 50%, 30%, things like that. You've also got your little clickable icon on here, which you can set to zoom in and out to whatever you've got set here. So for example, now if I set this to 100%, I can zoom in and out. And it's quite good too, because then I can select a specific area and zoom right into that area 100%. Single click to come back out again. I can zoom in, look at those trees, click to come out again, zoom in to look at the peak here. So it's really good because then you can check sharpness all across your image, and especially in specific areas. For this image I focused on the ruins of the castle. So I want to zoom into that castle and see that everything's nice and sharp, which it is. You can even see the people on there. This was shot at 370 millimeter focal length. So it was a lovely, crisp, clear day, and I was using a Canon 100-400 L series lens, so the quality and sharpness is superb. Same thing here. If I look at this image again, to the peak to check sharpness. Okay, so whatever you want to set here, if you set at 50%, you'll zoom into 50%, for example. Okay, but typically I use it at 100 so I can zoom into these areas to check for sharpness. Okay, so that's that bit down here. Down here on the right, on the bottom right, this you can use to cycle between before and after. So as you start editing, you can look at the image in its raw format, and you can look at it, you can look at the image as you're editing it, so you can compare the two. And you've got various ones. You can look like this. You'll actually see a dividing line between the two here. Okay, before and after here. Look again, before and after. So let's say, for example, look, if I whack up the contrast on that, now you can see that it's showing the edit on half of the image, and the left half is unedited. So it's showing you the difference across one image. You can click to view the images separately like this. So you've got before here and you've got after at the bottom. Or again, before and after, the image split in half, only horizontally this time. And then of course turning that off, that feature off. Okay, so down here you can set the rating if you want to for an individual image. Just select the image and set the rating on it, for example. So you can rate your images. I personally don't do any of this, but the option's there if you want it. Now up here on the top right corner you have a few options. Now the first one is to toggle to full screen, so you can click that and full screen your whole ACR menu and everything. So just click that to come back out, or of course you can just drag the box to size it the way you want to. Okay, I typically work in full screen myself. This cog gives you some additional preferences that you can set, but this one's the important one. This one you can click to convert and save the image. So once you've finished editing, and you can either open the image into Photoshop directly, of course, or you can set to save the image. Okay, so we'll see all these once we've done some work. So down here you can open the image. If you click this little arrow, it gives you a few extra options. Okay, cancel, or if you finish editing an image and you don't want to, maybe if you've saved it, for example, instead of opening it, then you just click done to come out. If you click cancel, it won't save any of the edits that you've done in the raw file. It won't save the settings, so you don't want to click cancel. If you save here, for example, then you want to click done. You don't want to click cancel. Okay, so down here you have a series of panels. You've got your main edit panel here. You've got a crop and rotate panel, spot removal panel, adjustment brush panel, your graduated filter panel, a radial filter panel, eye removal filter panel, snapshots, and presets. Okay, so the main one you're probably going to use is the edit panel, which gives you this option. Now what's really great about the latest version of Adobe Camera RAW is all of the tools are now organized into these nice little categories, and you can open or close each category to show the options that you've got. So that's really good, so then you haven't got a whole bunch of tools and everything all open that you don't want to use. Everything's categorized now and basically put into an accordion which you can open or close. So that's really cool. Okay, so we've got again our basic edit tools here, curve here, detail, color mixer, color grading tools, optics, geometry, effects, and calibration. Okay, we'll look at a lot of those in, or some or all of them in some of the future videos, but for now, for this video, we're going to look at the basic option here, because this is going to be the one you're probably going to use the most. Okay, now you can, one other thing also, when you hover over on the left hand side here in your film strip, when you hover over an image, you've got the option to click and save that image directly there rather than come up here. If you come up here, for example, whatever one is selected like this, it will save. But if you want to select more than one, again, just hold down the control key. You can select individually, or what you can do is you can click the top one, press the shift key, hold down the shift key, click the bottom one, and it will select everything. Okay, or one quick shortcut is to select one, then select Control and A, and that will select everything in your film strip. And then if you've got them all selected, then if you click here, you can then save all of them. Or you can save them individually by clicking one and clicking up here, or hovering over. Here you've got the save option here, plus you've got another bunch of options here. Okay, so there you go. So back over to the editing panel. Now again, you can select more than one image. If you've got 2 selected, or 3 selected, or all of them selected, whatever you do here will be applied to all of the images you have selected. So let's say, for example, I whack up the exposure. You can see that that's applied that to all of the images. Okay, so if this, you're not going to edit all of the images this way, but there may be something that you want to apply to more than one image or all of the images together. So that's a useful feature to know about. But if we select one, now let's select this one. Okay, now so here are our basic options. Okay, you can click Auto if you want to apply automatic editing to it, or click it to undo it. Sometimes it's worth just doing it to see what it does, but invariably you end up with a horrible result like this. So you want to black and white it, click to apply auto black and white to your image, or click again to remove. Up here is your histogram, as you're well aware of. Down here are some of the information, so your ISO, the focal length it was shot at, the aperture, and the shutter speed for your information. And here, this is the important bit, the profile. Okay, now you can set Adobe Standard here, Adobe Color, Adobe Landscape, Adobe Portrait if you shot portraits, Adobe Vivid, or Adobe Monochrome. Okay, I typically either choose Adobe Color or Adobe Vivid, depending on the image I'm working at. My default always goes to Adobe Vivid, and then I work from there. So in this case, the Adobe Vivid seems to work. And down here are our options. So white balance, by default it will be as shot, unless you change the defaults. This is something you can do, I'll show you later. But otherwise it will default at the white balance that you shot it at, or you can change it. So if I want to apply shade, yeah, ugly, too much, I'll just leave it as shot. Okay, or you can select, you can change the color temperature by the slider here rather than using the presets. You can adjust the tint. Okay, and if you at any time just go back to as shot to reset that. Okay, exposure, so here you can increase your exposure or you can reduce your exposure. Here you can increase your contrast or you can reduce your contrast. Very simple. Same with the highlights. This is a useful tool. I often tend to tweak back the highlights a bit, especially when I've got something. Hold on, let me set, here we go again, 100%. I've got a lovely bit of light falling on here, so I might want to tweak the highlights a bit on that to bring that out. Shadows, if you want to lighten your shadows or darken your shadows. Okay, and in this case, especially for this image, I've got a big gap here because I exposed it to the right to bring out all the detail down here. So in this case, I want to pull the black slider over to pull this back over here, but that's quite ugly, isn't it? That's too much, isn't it? So I'm going to do that actually in Photoshop, I think. I can pull it back a touch. That's quite nice. That's not too much. Sometimes, you know, you can pull it right back and it looks okay. Sometimes it doesn't. And in which case I usually find I go into Photoshop and do some tweaks to the midtones more so. Or do some other things, but I'm not going to do that now because I'm trying to demonstrate these for you. Here you can adjust the texture. Now texture is really good for buildings. So if we zoom into the building here, you can see that we can, if we adjust the texture, it really brings out some of the detail in the buildings on the walls here, for example. And also if you look at the back here on the mountain sides and the forest, if we go back again, that texture button brings out some of the detail on there too. So this is a really, really useful tool. This is a new tool actually. I don't know, I think it came in on Adobe Camera RAW 13, but this is a new tool and it's a really, really great tool. Works really well on buildings, brickwork and situations like that. Okay. Again, the clarity slider, which many of you are probably familiar with from previous versions. Again, slide it up to increase or take it back if you need to, if there's a bit too much clarity, if you want to reduce the clarity. Same with the Dehaze. Okay, Dehaze tool is really great, especially in an image like this. I used a polarizer which cut through a lot of the haze, but still it can do with a tweak. Like most of these tools though, don't go too far because it looks horrible. Really, I find that invariably, especially with Dehaze, 10, 15, even 20, 25 is too much. 10, in this case the Dehaze here has worked nicely. Yeah, I think 10, maybe 15. There you go. It's really brought out some of the detail on the mountain peak and the sky and everything, so that's nice. Yeah, what we can also do is see now if we can apply that here too. A touch of Dehaze there. Okay. Vibrance, the vibrance slider. If you're not familiar, it basically boosts the colors that are lacking in vibrance, essentially. Where the saturation slider will boost overall saturation. The vibrance will only boost the colors that are not so rich. Actually, some of them more muted colors, it will give them a bit of a boost. So this is actually a much better tool than the saturation tool, to be honest. Okay, so there you have it. That's the basic tools there and the basic layout of Adobe Camera RAW. So what I'll do now is let's do some editing on that. This one, let's take this up a touch. That doesn't need much, I think. Let's take that texture down a touch, 10. Yeah. Okay, so this image is ready, just needed a few little tweaks there. Now, one other thing, down at the bottom here, okay, if you click this option, you can go to your workflow here. You can get the same option here. Takes you to workflow, and whatever you have set here you'll see at the bottom. So your color space, you can select here the color space you want to work in and open your image or save your image in. I I use Adobe Camera, Adobe RGB, and I save these as high quality TIFFs at 16 bits. You can choose to open as a 16-bit color depth or 8-bit color depth. Basically the 16-bit will give you much more detail to work with, because you still might want to do some more editing in Photoshop. So it's much better to save it at a 16-bit to give you much more detail to work with. Adobe RGB, I usually save this as a TIFF, and then when I finished editing and I save my JPEG, I convert it to sRGB. The reason for that is if you upload and display your images on the internet, if you do it in Adobe RGB, it doesn't look right. The colors look very faded. Okay, but you've got options here, so you can set your color space, set your color depth. Now, image sizing, you typically want to keep it at default, but you can click this to resize if you want to. You can set the resolution. I typically set it at 300 pixels per inch or 300 dpi. If you want to do some sharpening here, you can do. If you want to open in Photoshop as a smart object, you can do. Okay, you've got other options here. Okay, we won't go too much into these, they're a bit more complicated, but the main thing you want to know is your workflow, and you want to set that. And you can set that as a default, and then all of the images you open will open like this as default, all of your raw images. Okay, so as I say, let's just work with this one for now. Actually, let's do this one quickly. We've had a bit of saturation here, touch of dehaze, touch of texture for those mountainsides. Yeah, that's nice, you can see. Okay, let's do the same for this one. Contrast, touch of detail there, get that back slide it down a bit, not too much. Dehaze, texture, bit of vibrance. Okay, so now, as I say, I can right click and select all. It's a quicker way. And as I said, I can choose to save, and again when you open here you've got your save options. So here you can set the location where you want to save them. So I usually have a TIFF folder within my main folder, so I select that. So now it's showing me that this is where it's going to save them. I can choose the file name in, I can keep the document name, or I can add something to the document name, or I can create my own name, whatever I want to do. The file extension, I'm going to save it as a TIFF, so it will save as .tiff, and the format here you can choose your digital negative, JPEG, Photoshop file, or PNG. As I said, I save as a TIFF. Metadata, you can choose how much of the metadata you want to save. Okay, I save everything, I save it all, but there are options to choose others. Compression, none, because I'm saving as a tip. I don't want to compress it at all. And again, although down here we've opened the color space, we set the color space to what we're going to work at here. Here we can also choose to change that color space and change that bit depth if we want to when we're saving it. And again, down here to save the image size, you can resize if you want to. I'll keep it as default size. Again, you can change the resolution if you want to. You can set some output sharpening if you want to. So all of these options, these are your save options. Once you've got these set, you just click save. Okay, I'm not going to save for now. I'm going to cancel that. Okay, and I am going to click open. Okay, this will open all 3 images into Adobe Photoshop for me. And there you have it. Okay, and now I can continue working on these images in Adobe Photoshop. Okay, so that's it for part 1. Stay tuned for part 2, where I show you some of the other features in Adobe Camera RAW version 13. Okay, thanks for watching, and if you like this, please subscribe, please give this video a like, and catch you later.